Welcome, I'm Carrie Burns, Senior Manager of Content Marketing at Guidewire. In the next 20 or so minutes, you're going to hear about what P&C insurers identify as their top imperatives for 2021. And industry analysts from Celent, Navarica, and Strategy Meets Action are going to share their thoughts and what they're seeing in the industry. At Connections Reimagined in November, we at Guidewire asked insurers to identify their organization's top strategic priorities heading into 2021 and the obstacles that hold them back. Quickly, here's what we heard from approximately 100 respondents, all insurers. Digital, digital, digital. Given the option of 10 imperatives, enabling digital transformation is what survey respondents say is their top priority, followed by deliver service excellence, achieve profitable growth, accelerate product launch, and drive process improvements. Let's dive a little bit deeper into these top 5. And here to do that, we have 3 people who have seen a thing or two in the P&C insurance industry. Mark Brading from Strategy Meets Action, Carlin Carnahan from Celent, and Martina Conlin from Navarica. Thank you 3 for joining us. Let's just jump right in with imperative number 1, enable digital transformation. Are any of you really surprised this was identified as number 1? Is this in line with what you're seeing in the industry? Carlin, maybe we can start with you.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. I mean, digital transformation is a catchword that encompasses a wide variety of initiatives, but is fundamentally focused on using new technologies to create a terrific customer experience and automating the back end so that you can deliver that at scale. Now, the obstacles that we see are also not quite surprising either. I mean, technology has become as core to an insurance carrier's strategy as underwriting or finance or marketing. But to make this transition to IT as a strategic pillar requires transformation of the IT organization, new technologies, new people skills, new processes. There's a whole foundation that needs to be put in place in order to enable that digital transformation. Mark, how about you?
Well, Carrie, you said digital, digital, digital. That's certainly what we're seeing. In our research, we asked every line of business their top priorities, and almost no one says that digital transformation is not part of their strategic plan, their strategic initiatives, right? For every single line of business. The issue is how you define digital transformation. Everybody defines it a little bit differently, and it takes a different shape for every different line of business, right? Now, what we have seen is we've seen some shifting priorities over the last year just due to the pandemic. So, one of the things that the pandemic did was expose a lot of digital gaps, digital payments, digital intake of paper workflows, things like that. So there have been some reshuffling of project priorities to focus on those digital projects that address some of those gaps. And some of the more expansive, more innovative types of digital transformation have been maybe paused or reprioritized a little bit, only to be picking up here in 2021 again.
Great. Okay, let's move on to number 2. Deliver service excellence. Simple, right? Mark, what are you seeing in this area?
Well, this is one of those things that it's really easy to define it, right? Because you can say, oh, well, it's delivering through any channel at any time and enabling self-service transactions for agents and for policyholders and for claimants and anybody that we deal with, employees, right? So that's the vision, but we're still working through that journey, right? And so it's very different again, on the personal line side and simple commercial lines. We're making a lot of progress with trying to move to straight through processing for things like claims, to make it easier to service. You get into the more complex claims, there's still a lot of process that goes on, a lot of activity that goes on, a lot of handoffs that go on. But it's a lot more about relationships when you get into some of those areas. So you can still deliver the service excellence through relationships in some other areas.
When I look at it, it doesn't surprise me that it's number 2, because customer experience is one of the few areas that insurer of any size can create a sustainable differentiation, right? It's hard to differentiate with low cost if you don't have scale. right? And to differentiate through underwriting is moving to artificial intelligence, which requires a lot of data, but customer experience, anybody can do. And of course, customer expectations are changing, and so it makes it an imperative to do so. And so all of the carriers that we see are focusing on changing the customer experience. They're focusing on journey mapping and reducing friction and eliminating handoffs and making things, customer centric. The challenge is that we tend to think of it along our internal functional areas. How do we make it easy to get a quote, to pay a bill, to file a claim? And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's an internal viewpoint. To create a truly differentiated customer experience requires assembling a broad set of digital capabilities and orchestrating those processes and orchestrating the data. And these require capabilities that are not found in a core system. And so this is why I believe we're seeing this explosion in vendors like yourselves creating ecosystems of digital providers pre-assembled through a marketplace that allow an insurance company to easily assemble these digital capabilities that are found in the ecosystem in order to deliver on that service capability. Whether it's chatbots or advice engines or the use of data and analytics. I mean, if you're one of the lucky carriers that has completed your core system replacement, then you're ahead of the curve, because with these open APIs, that simplifies the process of integration and allows you to move forward more quickly.
Yeah, and I assume it's going to keep on changing.
Only
so getting
escalate.
set up is so
In fact, I would say that one of the most critical jobs in an insurance company today is the IT architect, who needs to figure out then where will the work be done and how do we manage this data and how do we orchestrate across all of these different providers.
Sure. Okay, we're going to move on to number 3 here, achieve profitable growth. This would seem like something that would be top priority every year, right? So what is it about 2021 that might be different? Why do you think this ended up as number 3 and not number 1? Martina, you want to jump in?
So I think it's probably because of who you were asking. I think that at your Connections conference, you had a lot of IT leadership, CIOs, and certainly the order of these answers, the imperatives certainly makes sense given who you're asking. I think if you're talking to a CEO, chief underwriting officer, those responsible for sales, that this certainly would have been their number 1 answer. And it is the answer that we understand from working with our clients every day, that achieving profitable growth is key to their plans for 2021. We do find also that by trying to achieve profitable growth, it certainly means introducing new product, changing your product. But also a critical piece of that is figuring out how to scale without increasing the number of headcount. And so there certainly is a priority around process improvement, digitizing capabilities, all of those things that Carlin and Mark were just talking about. So certainly we see an awful lot of activity around here, and with the technologies that really are necessary to support achieving profitable growth, certainly our flexible core systems, allowing you to effectively issue policies, process claims, those types of things, but also that digital capabilities put in the right place for you to reach your target market.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say, 20 years ago, I ran an event that the theme was achieving profitable growth. So you're right, Carrie, this is a continual theme of the industry. But what I think is different in 2021 is that I think there's a lot more focus on risk selection and pricing. So yeah, of course, we can always continue to improve the cost structure. We can try to drive, more pipeline and drive the top line as well. But there's so much technology around understanding market appetite and having the best risk that you want to take come through the door, and technology to really get more precision around the way you're analyzing that risk and what you want to underwrite, and then pricing it as well. So to me, that's become the real key component of profitable growth is really how you manage your book, so that the various risks on there are going to be profitable.
Great, that's great. Okay, on to number 4 here, Martina. As you mentioned, product is pretty important, and in all of these are playing into this, and product launch will obviously affect growth. So once insurers find some of these new markets or new products, they have to move really fast. Martina, is this what you're seeing in the industry?
Most definitely. In our 2021 budgets and projects report, time to market of net new and changed products was #1 priority for insurers. And it has been for the last probably 5-7 years. So certainly being an IT department as well as the product development teams, being able to deliver product in an agile way very quickly is top priority. And again, the underpinnings of this, are certainly having flexible, modern core systems to deliver your product through, but also the digital capabilities to reach the market that it's intended for. We do find that lots of companies, in order to make profitable growth, are launching new products, going into new jurisdictions, changing their appetite, taking on different types of risks. So being able to modify your product to meet those market needs very quickly is absolutely a lot of activity and a lot of the priority for transforming your core systems today.
Yeah, my research over the last 12 years on the actual cost of product development shows that there are two hugely time-consuming aspects of launching a new product. The first one is this whole ideation and analysis. What should we do? How should we do it? What should this look like? The number crunching, the competitive analysis, the crafting of the rates. And today, the ability to better understand buyer needs and to create new pricing algorithms is enabled by all of these new sources of data that allow product developers to make better decisions or faster decisions than they have been able to in the past. But the second huge chunk of cost is standing up a new product in a core system, right? The cost and the work of this has also dramatically dropped over the last 12 years as insurance companies have moved to highly configurable systems, like a Guidewire product, where you can very easily, clone products, modify algorithms, modify rate tables and forms, create new user screens. And the use of these kinds of configuration tools has dramatically reduced the time to launch a product by more than 50% over the last 10 years. Now, the good thing is that this is all happening because the definition of an insurance product is also changing. It's no longer simply an indemnification product where you have a loss and we issue you a check, right? We're looking at products that are fundamentally have services embedded in them, or products that are rated not based on who you are, but based on how you behave. And so this greater reliance on data, this greater need for customer centricity aligns at the same time that systems are more easily able to launch these kinds of products.
I'd also add that we do see a fair amount of companies becoming more ISO-like and adopting ISO products in order to accelerate and simplify their product development process, or on the commercial line side also.
All right, our last imperative. This is it. This is all insurers need to work on, right? Drive process improvements. Mark, why is this so important, and how can insurers overcome the challenges associated with it?
Well, it's always important. It's always going to continue to be important, but this is not the re-engineering of earlier eras, right? This is, to your point, Carlin, earlier about understanding journeys, customer journeys. It's really more about kind of taking that outside in view, understanding whether it's agent or whether it's policyholder, or even whether it's employees, who people are and how they do their work. So it's creating personas, it's understanding really what's of value, and then thinking about how to drive the process improvements. And of course, we have tools now like process mining tools, and we have technologies like RPA to help us to automate some of those things, right? But we just have to be careful we don't find ourselves in 10 years where we've automated a whole bunch of tasks and then we don't really understand what's happening and how to rethink the tasks at that point.
This also came up as a top priority in our 2021 budgets and projects report, where I think it was like roughly number 5 or number 6 on the list also. And a lot of the insurers that we work with every day are really focusing on introducing some kind of a lean program or working with consulting organizations. We have a business process visioning service that we work with our clients around this in order to really focus on optimizing the process from the different personas perspective, but also the efficiency and the technology that is used to support that process. So we are finding that when we go through these process improvement sessions with our clients, that there's ripe opportunity for improvement. And that is whether you're on legacy technology or you're about to implement, if you're about to implement a modern solution. And often, unfortunately, insurers do pave the cow path sometimes when they implement modern solutions. So there is opportunity to improve process very often post-modern solution implementation, especially if you took an MVP approach. And so we're finding the timing of doing this process improvements is open to very different timeframes, as well as technology situations that the insurers are on. And what we are finding is there is usually opportunity to improve automation around straight through processing, data capture, ingesting text off of PDFs and images and things like that, payment processing, increased automation around there, automated decisioning and advice to underwriters and advice to claims processors, more automated workflow that typically will result in a much more efficient, faster, and better outcome. And we do see that the technologies that are really necessary to support process improvement tend to be, a modern core system with strong workflow and rule capability, an analytics platform that will allow you to understand your data and understand process points in order to improve that process. RPA, certainly, and text ingestion are technologies that are being introduced in order to improve those processes. Even though RPA isn't necessarily the most strategic technology, it really can deliver big business impact in a very short time frame. And so considering those, and now the world of InsurTech and AI, and applying those products and services in order to automate estimatics and gather data more, predictive models, all of those things. Really, the AI community has a lot to offer that will help automate and improve the processes within insurers.
I think we have just a few minutes left. So I wanted to ask, is there anything that you've seen in your work as an imperative that wasn't covered on these top 5? Is there anything that's been really top of mind for the insurers you work with?
Yeah, I would say that what we've talked about here are some of the functional changes that folks are trying to make, the digitization, the new products. But underlying all of that, as I said up front, is the need to fundamentally redesign the IT organization, to think about the kinds of new technologies that are needed to enable this, whether it's moving things to the cloud or using microservices or APIs, that there are skill set changes. You're not building this all yourselves. It's more around orchestrating and a new set of capabilities that are needed in the people that are delivering the kinds of changes. And of course, a wide variety of changes on the process side, the governance of what is being done, and job changes and role changes, all of which change the way that you measure things, the metrics that you use, right? Running things in the cloud is very different than running things on-prem, and it's not just a technology issue, it's a cultural issue as well. And so while it's easy to think about this digital transformation that we're all engaging in as being around these cool, shiny objects and creating these new, cool, functional ways of doing things, there's a lot of slogging that has to get done in the background in order to enable that. And there's a lot of hard work that insurance companies are working on right now.
So I think there's a whole set of business strategy imperatives as well in different areas of the business. There's a lot of activity around distribution strategies, around alternative distribution strategies, better enabling agent partners, thinking of new ways to reach preferred segments. There's a lot of new strategies around underwriting, especially commercial lines underwriting. As you mentioned, Carlin, a lot of it's about thinking about even roles, not just the technology, but what is the underwriter of the future look like, right? There's a lot going on around claims, right? A tremendous amounts of technology being applied there as they're rethinking what the whole claims process looks like. So there's in every area of the business, there's just a great deal of interesting activity going on. And I would say all of these, at least the different parts of the business, they would say, this is my imperative. I'm rethinking my strategy here.
And I was going to add the exact same point that you brought up, Mark, around focusing on the distributor, focusing on agent ease of doing business is certainly a priority with most of our clients. Additionally, there's been, because of COVID, I think also, finance departments are tending to get a little more attention than they have in the past, surprisingly. And so we do see a number of our clients that are, it's certainly not that it would fall in the top 5, but finance transformation is part of their 2021 and 22 initiatives also.
Great, great. So many moving parts. 2021 obviously is going to be a very active year. Lots to work on, right? Mark, Carlin, Martina, thank you so much for your insight, and thank you all for tuning in.